Hello people, you're welcome to Proup Masterclass. My name is Tola Alabi, and in today's class I'm going to be telling you about the best way to recruit creatives or to work with creatives as a business. So I'm going to be talking basically to business owners right now. And if your business has to do with recruiting creatives, and when I talk about creatives, I'm talking about graphic designers, web designers, UI UX designers, photographers, somebody that works in the visual arts as a creative. And because I realized that a lot of people, I've gotten to consult with businesses that have issues with recruiting designers or creative, because I'm a graphic designer. I started out as a graphic designer, and a lot of people try to reach out to me and say, "Oh, can you help us with recruiting graphic designers?" Because they've been having issues. Designers keep quitting on them, or they cannot accept their terms and conditions, and I see that there's a gap here, and this gap is what I want to address in today's session. Now, there is a big mistake that businesses today are in the habit of making, especially when it comes to recruiting creatives. And that is the mistake of they still try to apply the terms and conditions for recruiting creatives in the 1990s, maybe through to the early 2000s, to recruiting creatives now. And those terms and conditions don't work for creatives in today's world. That means you are using like old tricks to catch a rat. And the funny thing is, when I was growing up, to catch a rat, you needed this rat trap that had the spring that you pull back and you put food on a lever that the rat would have to trip that. And that used to work in the 80s. But I realized that after a while, that stopped working. Rats stopped falling for that rat trap. In fact, they were able to trip off the spring and still get the food without the rat trap catching them. In fact, some of them were willing to lose their tails for this. So you see, that doesn't work anymore for rats anymore. And now they've had to develop different ways of catching rats. So some people use powder, some people disguise food, some people use gum boards, glue boards, or stuff like that. Because they realized that the old way didn't work. And that's the same way with recruiting today. People are still trying to use the old 1990s to early 2000 ways of recruiting, and that doesn't work, especially for creatives. And that comes from an understanding of what today's creatives are looking for. And that's why I would advise anybody that's running a company, if you are recruiting cannot be mass anymore. Recruiting has to be the individual. And that's why when we talk about companies and we look at companies that we look at, best companies to work with, you see, you have the Googles there, you have Adobe there, you have all those companies, and you kind of ask, why are these companies the best companies to work with? It's not just about how much they pay in terms of remuneration for their staff, no. Because it doesn't all come down to money. It's about understanding what the staff needs. So if you're recruiting a creative, you need to know what today's creatives look for. Now, one error I realize a lot of companies make when it comes to recruiting creatives is this clause and terms of, if you have to work at this particular workstation from 9 o'clock to 5 o'clock. This is your computer, this is your workstation, you must work from here. That doesn't work in today's world anymore. The creative today doesn't want to be restricted to a workstation. They don't want to be restricted to a workstation. You see, that used to work in the 90s. Because then computers were super expensive. The software was super expensive and super scarce. Not everybody had a copy of Adobe Photoshop or Adobe Illustrator or a 3D app. Not everybody had access to that. So if you wanted to get to use that, you had to go to a company that had the money to install the software and to purchase the software and install the software. So you had to go there and work on that system from 9 to 5, then go back home and dream of what you wanted to do the next day from 9 to 5. So then the advantage was being employed. But now the truth is, the laptops are they're quite affordable. Of course, there are some pricey ones, but you can always find one within your range. Now you can find the second-hand laptop at the graphic designer that would allow you run Photoshop, CorelDRAW, Illustrator. It's very easy. The software are bootleg. That's the reality. They are bootleg. You can get these softwares for very cheap, sometimes for free. You can download them for free. You can crack the software and download them for free. The software companies don't like that, but that's the reality out there. They are so accessible. So I don't have to go to a particular place to have the privilege of using this software. Sometimes these individual creatives or designers have more software than the companies. They have the latest, most updated versions of these softwares than the companies. So they don't even want to be restricted to the company system. Working 9 to 5 doesn't work. So that clause already rubs them off the wrong way. There's also the clause that companies put in there saying, oh, while you work with us, you can't work with any other person. And that's also a clause that can't work anymore in today's world. It can't work. If you put that in your clause, in your terms and condition, graphic designers do not take that offer. That is, the honest ones won't take that offer. The dishonest ones will still take the offer and still contravene it. That's the reality. They will take the offer and still contravene it. Because the truth is, in the 1990s, there was no social media. So it was hard for you as a graphic designer to get your work out there, to show people what you could do. It was very hard. But now, graphic designers can showcase their work on WhatsApp, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter. They can showcase their work on different platforms and people get to see it. The truth is that other people would always solicit the service of your creative, as long as they can see their services. As long as they can put it on those platforms, they would have the person that would always want to solicit their services. These people might be family, they might be friends, they might be acquaintances, whatever they are. But they'll see people that get attracted to their work and they'll solicit it. That would always happen. The truth is that those people might not be paying so much, but the graphic designer always sees it as extra payment, extra income coming in. So the reality is, do we really expect the graphic designer to say, you know what, you are paying me this extra amount and this job is going to take me 15 minutes to do, but you know what, I'm going to turn it down because I'm working with this company? A lot of them will not do that. That's the reality. And you as a wise business owner must be able and have enough emotional intelligence to accept this reality and say, look, unless I'm willing to pay this graphic designer, and that's really ready to compensate, you're really ready to compensate for the work they're going to be turning down, then it's going to be very hard for you to work against that. That means you're going to be paying the graphic designer a lot of money to get him to turn down all these other jobs. And that's so hard to do. I've got to learn that. I've been in a position, and I'm still in a position where I recruit graphic designers to work with me, and I've learned the hard way that you need to set them free. You need to set them free. You cannot put all these restricting terms and conditions. You will not get the best out of them. Before you know it, they will quit after a while, or they won't deliver the way you expect them to deliver. The most ridiculous terms that a lot of employers put out there that I find very ridiculous, doesn't work in today's age, is while you are working with us, you cannot put any of our work in your portfolio. I don't know whether that's internationally acceptable. That's just something that Nigerians do. But I think that really works against companies. I think graphic designers and creatives want a sense of ownership. They want a sense of ownership. If you want to get the best out of them, then you must give them a sense of ownership. Or else they won't put their best into the work. And that's why you see a lot of creatives go to work and don't apply themselves fully, do subpar work, and when they do their personal project, it looks good. Because they kind of think about it. If I'm putting my best into this, and 5 years' time, I really cannot showcase this work, then why put my best into it? That's how they think. And so putting them in that constraint of you cannot put your work in your portfolio it's counterproductive for the company, because it just means I cannot show this. Why should I put my best? Why should I go the extra mile on this? That means if I'm out of a job right now, I really don't have anything to show, which really doesn't seem like a very good position for the graphic designer to be. If he works hard for a company for 5 years, and after 5 years he's out, maybe you had to retrench or things like that, or he had to quit the job, or relocate. That means those 5 years he had nothing to show for it. I don't think any right-thinking graphic designer would see that as a good opportunity for them. A lot of them, out of desperation, might take the job and not really consider it. But trust me, once that desperation is out of the way, they start to contravene all these laws and rules. So I think today's business people really need to think of what it takes to engage with a creative, because creatives in today's world have changed. The way they think has changed. So you need to get into what does it take for a creative to tick in today's world. How can they get to work? How can we get to work better with them? How can we get the best out of them? And not by having rigid, obsolete terms and conditions. And I guess it's not just with creatives. If you're going to be hiring accountants, there are certain things that accountants are looking for in today's world. Know how to work around those. So when you have someone working in HR, that person cannot be recruiting mass. Recruiting cannot be mass anymore. It has to be individual. According to this job specification, how do those people think nowadays? What are the gaps that we as a company must be willing to live with to get the best out of these people? And you realize that if you are able to be more empathetic about how the professionals in that industry are thinking right now, you get the best out of them. And I realize that when I work with designers a lot, I give them the room. I tell them, look, you can showcase what you're working on with me on your personal portfolio. That's fine. I tell them you can do jobs outside the jobs you're doing with me. You are free to chase your own personal jobs. And I even go the extra mile of telling them, you know what? If you're chasing your personal job and you hit a wall, you have some kind of creative block, feel free to come to me. I'll be willing to help you. And I do help them. And something happened after I started doing this. They became more loyal to me. They gave more attention to my work over their work, because they realized that I do care. So it wasn't about paying them a lot of money. No, it was about telling them I understand what it takes for you to work. I understand your values. I understand your life. And I'm not trying to come and put a wall against that, because that just strains your relationship with me. I want you to be able to live your life and enjoy working with me at the same time. So business people must be able to think about that and put that into your thoughts of running a business if you're working with creatives or recruiting creatives in today's world.